Can you gently push that to start that, Wesley? Because that thing is broken. I had to do advanced architecture.
Snap.
You know, I might copyright that. I don't know. Trademark it. The ingenuity. All right, all brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Our Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharah, we thank you once again, Yahweh, for your hedge of protection throughout the week, Yahweh, as we had a wonderful Shabbat, Yahweh, and a wonderful extra day off. Even though we don't take part in their pagan festivities, we'll gladly take the day off if necessary. And Yahweh, we ask that once again that you allow your spirit of understanding to reside with us, Yahweh, as we rightly divide your scriptures, as we seek to have a better understanding of your holy day, your Moadim that approaches us as we approach the holiest month of the year, Yahweh. Yahweh, we also ask that all our brothers and sisters that be abroad, Yahweh, that may be going through something, Yahweh, whether it be physically, mental, or spiritual, Yahweh, that you also provide that extra bit of help and assurance, Yahweh, and guidance, Yahweh, so that they can find their way through, Yahweh, and where they're not able to bear on their own, Yahweh, that you provide a servant, Yahweh, to provide a helping hand and always be a form of leadership, Yahweh, for those that are needing some guidance and direction, Yahweh, in their dark moments, Yah. Yah, we are not worthy, but we're thankful, Yahweh, that you are a merciful Elohim, giving us this grace to work on the errors that we have in ourselves, Yahweh. So we ask that you give us an open eye to see all that we need to see to glorify you, Yah. And these things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which all majesty, might, and dominion resides through forevermore. In the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, we thank and pray. Amen. Amen. All right, shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. My brother Yonatan Yasharah. Shalom. And the title of today's Bible study is The Sounds of the Trumpets. The Sounds of the Trumpets. And we are at sundown, about 1 week, or exactly 1 week at sundown from Teruah, Trumpets, which is the first holy day of the 7th month, which is the 7th month is the holiest day of the year. You have the most amount of holy days in that month. So as we approach trumpets, you know, we're going to get a little bit into what trumpets is, Teruah in Hebrew, and a little bit more about what the trumpet signifies and the different sounds of the trumpet, and understanding the importance of it in our past, in our present, and also in our future, because Any one of the trumpets has certain significations, and any one of these trumpets could literally be the trumpet that brings us back into the kingdom. And if we're not following instructions and we don't understand, we're not going to be in that favorable position. So we're going to first open up in Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 10, and we're going to read 1 through 13. Numbers, the fourth book of the Old Testament. Chapter 10, and we're going to read verses 1 through 13. And shalom, Gishikol, shalom, shalom Totayaha. Hey mom, shalom. Shalom, war ready. That's right, you got to be war ready. The Most High is a man of war. So if he's a man of war, what you think his children are? We war ready. But at the same time, we in a peaceful state unless you bring that war to our front door, and then we ready. So shalom, good to see y'all. And again, we're opening up in Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 10. And we're going to read 1 through 13, with Numbers being the fourth book of the Old Testament. And shalom, Kid Marie, good to see you as well. And again, the title of today's Bible study is The Sounds of the Trumpets. And we are at sundown. We are exactly 1 week from the Rosh Hashanah of the 7th month, which is Teruah Trumpets, which is a holy day.
Bamidbar, Numbers, chapter 10 and verse 1. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Make you 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shall you make them, that you may use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps. And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to you at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, so he's saying this is, and Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, so this is a commandment. He's saying, make you 2 trumpets of silver. So he's telling you on this particular one to make the trumpet out of silver. So the Hebrew word for trumpets is Hatzorah, Hatzosarah, Hatzosarah, which is Chatsotsserah, and that's H2689. That's reduplication from H2690, a trumpet, from its sounding or quavering note. So the word for trumpet itself is Hatzosarah. And that is this one, he's telling us to make it out of silver, because this is to gather the children of Yasharal, the calling of the assembly, and also the journeying of the camps. So when you blow with them, the assembly shall assemble themselves to you at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So when that noise went, this was signification that you need to assemble. For whatever reason, it could be danger, or it could be important instructions from Yahweh. So if you are not paying attention to the instructions, you might miss some instruction that could save your life. What if they blew the trumpet at a time of Passover, and they were saying, all right, Yahweh's about to have the first Passover. You need to do this, this, that, and the other. If you didn't assemble, you might have missed that important information. And then when the destroying angel was coming, you were outside the house instead of doing what you needed to do.
Verse 3. And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to you at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And if they blow but with 1 trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of the thousands of Yasharal, shall gather themselves unto you.
All right. So when you blow with the two trumpets, then the assembly is supposed to gather at the door. When you blow with 1 trumpet, then the heads, the heads of thousands of Yasharal should gather themselves together. So you got to pay attention. There's obviously a different sound between 1 trumpet and 2 strong trumpets blowing together. It's a reverberation. It's a different sound.
Question.
Go ahead, brother.
The trumpets they're referring to, are they the shofars? Or?
These are, he said specifically for these, make them out of silver. There's a different word they use for when they're using shofar, which we're going to get into.
Verse 5. When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east parts shall go forward. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys.
All right. So when you blow an alarm, and we all know what an alarm sounds like, it's like when your car alarm goes off, or your regular radio clock alarm, or your alarm on your house or whatever. It's a repeating, nagging sound that's supposed to alarm you. So there's a difference between that and when they're blowing together. And when they blow that alarm the first time, the camps on the east parts are supposed to go forward. So that's meaning the children of Yasharal are supposed to go forward of Yehuda. What is that? Is the phone ringing? Okay. It sounded like an alarm. Yeah. So you heard what that sounded like. That I did that on purpose. Okay. Because that's how I plan things. But anyway, so the alarm goes off the first time. The camp on the east side is supposed to go. So that's Judah. Judah always goes up first. It says Judah will take the kingdom. The saints are going to take the kingdom, and Judah is going to go up first. So this is important instruction. Anybody that understands war, it's all about timing and placing your people in the proper places. So he's calling for the south to go first because of the direction, or you're trying to close somebody in, or you're trying to attack a certain angle, and you don't follow the instructions, it messes it up. Or if he blows it the first time and you didn't hear it, and you thinking, okay, now they're blowing it the second time. The southern camps are supposed to go forward, and they didn't hear the first time. They thinking, well, I ain't got to go up. This is the first time. Now Judah over there fighting, expecting their brothers to come through, and then the southern camps don't show up. It's a problem. So everything is about instructions. And this is why Yah has us doing these things every month. We blow the shofar. Every Shabbat, we blow the shofar. Calling and gathering of assemblies. All these holy days, he even made a holy day around just the trumpets to show you the significance and importance that this has in our salvation and the story, the whole total story of Yah's plan, which we're going to get into.
Verse 7. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies.
All right. So you shall blow an alarm with the trumpet. So let's look at verse 9. Is it the same word? I didn't check it for trumpets.
This is H2689.
Yeah, so it's the same word. So that is the literal word for trumpets. And then when you're using a different type of trumpet, which they usually typically call cornet, that's when they use the word shofar. But they'll also use shofar for trumpets as well at certain times. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn assemblies and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
All right, so this is why on Shabbat, on the holy days, on the new months, anything, the calling of the assemblies, anything of that nature, we blow the shofar. That is our instruction. This is practice. All of this is practice. And what are we practicing for? We practicing for the kingdom. Because one day it's going to be that heavenly trumpet being blown. And if you don't know what that sound means, you don't know what to do, you could be left out in the cold. That could literally be the separation for the children of Yasharal, whether you part of that 1/3 or not. It's possible. Because if he says, come here and gather, them ships is going, we going back to the land, and you decide you want to stay here with here when this place is destroyed, that's on you. So all of this, and this is just one portion of practice. Everything we do is practice for being citizens of the kingdom. So let's see that. So it said, when you are in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, in verse 9, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies. So when we are doing our righteousness in our land and the other nations try to attack us, we blow that same shofar, and the angels will go before us and fight that battle for us, and we'll be saved. None of this in here implies that we can go join the military as a Hebrew, go invade some other poor melanin country of people, and think that we blow the shofar, that the Most High gonna come fight for us because we Hebrews. That's not what that means. We have to follow these instructions in your land, or if Yahweh sends you to a land to go do something, that's when this applies. So let's move on. Let's go to Joshua chapter 6, and we're going to see an example of that. Joshua chapter 6. It's another two books down.
Joshua chapter 6 and verse 1. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Yasharal. None went out, and none came in. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, See, I have given into your hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor.
All right, so this is Jericho, which is in the land. It has been decreed that we are to take that land because it will belong to us. And this city called Jericho, the derivative of that is Yeriach. So this is a city likely involved in some kind of moon worship. There's some kind of moon involved in this because the city is being named after the moon. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And you shall compass the city, all you men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shall you do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day you shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass.
Verse 5. Mm-hmm.
This is still verse 6, right? And it shall come to pass
We're on 5.
that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of that city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. And Yahshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh.
All right. So it's saying, let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh. So now where it talks about the trumpets is using shofar, which is H7782. Shofar, spelled Shopphar. And notice what this is of ram's horn. And that's from H8231 in the original sense of incising a coronet as giving a clear sound, or curved horn, cornet, trumpet. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And he said unto the people, Pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of Yahweh. And it came to pass, when Yahshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns passed on before Yahweh, and blew with the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh followed them. And the armed men went before the priests that blew with the trumpets, and the reward came after the ark, the priests going on, blowing with the trumpets. And Yahshua commanded that the people, saying, You shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout. Then shall you shout.
So these are instructions. Again, Yahweh does all these things to see who is going to follow instructions. He said not a word. So you know how we are. Somebody tell us to shut up. We can't shut up. We got to ask a question, or we got to say something, or we got to laugh or make a joke or whatever. And this is important. He's telling everybody. There's a reason he's telling them to be quiet. Everybody be quiet. Save your voice. We are going to make the loudest shout. We're going to blow the shofars. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to call on these angels. Go ahead.
So the ark of Yahweh compassed the city, going about it once. And they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Yahshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of Yahweh. And 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh went on continually, and blew with the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the reward came after the ark of Yahweh, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And the 2nd day they compassed the city once, and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Yahshua said unto the people, Shout, for Yahweh has given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein to Yahweh. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent.
All right, so this is the story of Rahab, which was the so-called harlot that lived on the outside, that helped Yahshua, helped hide them and the spies, and helped them get out of the city. And she promised, she heard the fame of Yahweh, and she knew that we were going to come take the lands, and she made a deal. And she said, I will hide you, I will help you out of here, but just remember me and my family. Now look at this. I'm sure her family wasn't looking at her as the most favorable person in her family, but now her whole family is being saved because of her faith in Yahweh. And let me tell you this, that ain't something that's going to carnally naturally happen for somebody to go against their own land and their own family. That means there's a different spirit that was on her. So Yahweh is constantly showing you that I can use another vessel. Flesh is nothing but a blade of grass to me. I can use any vessel to put my spirit on them. And if that person allows their vessel to be used by the spirit of Yahweh, they're going to receive a reward. And this woman was now being rewarded. And as you read later on, she is in the bloodline of the Mashiach, in the blood physically. Rahab is physically in the bloodline of the Mashiach and King David. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And you, in any wise, keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest you make yourselves accursed when you take of the accursed thing and make the camp of Yasharal a curse and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto Yahweh. They shall come into the sanctuary of Yahweh. So the people shout the treasury of Yahweh. So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. But Yahshua had said unto the 2 men that spied out the country, Go into the harlot's house, and bring out there the woman and all that she has, and use as you swear unto her. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab, and her father, and her mother, and her brethren, and all that she had, and they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Yasharal. And they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of Yahweh. And Yahshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had. And she dwelled in Yasharal even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Yahshua sent to spy out Jericho.
All right, so you notice originally she was without the camp of Yasharal. She was outside. So there had to be some kind of transition period for her to be outside the camp and actually learn the laws and statutes and righteousness before she's able in the camp, into the body. So it's the same with us. We are located outside of the body of Jerusalem, the holy city, which is the people. We are outside until we learn the ways, and we are just like a stranger until we learn righteousness, and then we're able to enter into the body of the camp. So also you see here, the whole place was destroyed, and this sounds like a nice fairy tale. But in modern history, I think like in the 50s or the 60s, they literally found the city. They found the city, and they were able to look and document all that happened. And they saw all the destruction round about, and everything that was described in this book, they were able to prove that archaeologically, where they could literally show that one little section that was in the wall, just like the story, was still intact, and everywhere else was fire damage. And even the type of damage, they were able to even prove that it caved in first before it was set on fire, just by the pattern of what was burned and what wasn't burned. And they were able to show that this really did happen. So our history is not only in this book, but it's also in the artifacts that are left out, that they can actually prove that all of these things happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically about verse 6, 21, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
That paints a pretty gruesome picture with, destruction of everybody, killing everybody, woman, young, and old.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, as great as the Most High is, why would he choose such a gruesome method? Like, what was the purpose beyond that? Because I'm also assuming that the people they were destroying, they were probably wicked, but were they, I'm assuming they were ignorant to the law,
Mm-hmm.
the commandments. So I'm just trying to make sense of that. Why would is there a specific reason? Is there a purpose
Sure.
that he went that route?
Sure. And it wasn't just like Jericho. He said, just kill all the people in Jericho. These are the lands in the Canaanites. He said, the people of the land, he said, kill everything. Animal, donkey, dog, whatever. Anything that breathes. Now, I can only speculate, but just looking at the information that we do have, we did mention that this was Jericho. He warned us not to do the ways of the people that are around us. Now, they were ignorant to the law, but also when you go back in Enoch, you also have to understand that these other nations had evil angels that were over them, that were leading them away from Yah. So that would lead them to do all kind of weird practices like burning their children and all kind of wickedness. So the wickedness had to be so bad in the area. In addition, these people were in a land that did not belong to them because Ham was not supposed to be in that area. So you have all these people in this area that don't belong there doing all kind of wicked practices. And now if he just said, like most wars, go in there and kill off the men. So we kill off the men in the war and do that. Then you have the women and the children. He told us don't even marry the women because they're going to turn you away from the Most High. So if you leave the women, then what's going to happen to women? Somebody got to take care of the women. They're going to eventually mix with the men. And we mix with the men. Now all of a sudden we like how Shlomo is, where we building temples for Chemosh and building temples for Ashtaroth and all these different things. So Yahweh is thinking about all those things as well, about mixing with his people. Now you say, okay, well, the children, what about the children? Why would you do that? Well, if you were a child and I grew up and I knew that these group of people, just like the group of people that did it to us, killed our fathers, our mothers, our children, our donkeys and all that and left us alive, what you think we're going to do when we grow up? We will never have peace. Because you never gonna have peace with me. You killed my father and my mother and my donkeys and children, my pet lamb, all that stuff. You're gonna have animosity. And he is dispossessing the people in that land for breaking the covenant of their fathers. Shem, Ham, and Japheth made an agreement saying to keep peace in the world. We gonna have this land, you gonna have this land, you gonna have this land. The children broke that covenant. And that's part of the reason for the dispossession of the people in that land. And again, this is why you can't make a covenant with these people. You can't marry them, can't be friends with them, can't do any of that. Because if you're supposed to kill off the whole group of people there, how you gonna make a covenant with them? But even despite all that, Yahweh didn't have us kill off everybody because he said, I'm not gonna let you kill off everybody. Because if you kill off everybody, then the animals are gonna overpopulate and you won't even be able to get into the land. So he didn't have us kill off all the people. But that was the instructions that we were supposed to do. Now, I'm sure there's more layers and more understanding to that, but I can't speak for Yahweh. I can only take the little pieces that I can get out the book. And remember, what does it take to atone for sin?
Sacrifice blood.
And the blood of who? The blood of the sinner. So that's why when he comes back, Yahshua, and has to cleanse this land, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, and it's going to be the blood of the sinners that refuse to repent. And we're actually going to get into things are purged by blood. So for us to come into that land and it be holy, it had to be cleansed. And there's only one way to cleanse that land. And that's why for us to enter back in the land, it's going to be the same thing. We're not finna walk in there with a passport and think we're going to walk in the land. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. According to prophecy.
Verse 26. And Yahshua adjured them at that time, saying, Cursed be the man before Yahweh that rises up and builds this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof in his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it. So Yahweh was with Yahshua, and his fame was noised throughout all the country.
All right. So let's move on. So we saw how the trumpet, how the noise of the trumpet was able to summon the angels, was able to do miraculous things, knock down walls. This city was so safe and protected. It was on a hill, had nothing but bricks covering it. It was a healthy safe. They wouldn't open the gates, nothing. And Yahweh said, listen, you show up with nothing but some trumpets and your voice, and we're going to take this great city, and I'm going to deliver this city to you. And you know, when I first started reading this stuff, it sounded very violent and dangerous. And, you know, you start to question. But then we start to make statements like, well, my God wouldn't do this. Who are you? So you think for the Most High? You God? You the Most High? We don't know what all his reasoning and purpose is. But one thing we know, everything he does is righteous. But man isn't righteous. So let's move on. Let's go to Psalm Tehillim, chapter 81. Psalms, chapter 81. And shalom, brother Yafi Yehuda. And shalom, Lucas Cool. Good to see y'all, family. Everybody want to call me now. Psalms 81. Tehillim, chapter 81. You know, everybody will have compassion. You know, and a general human being is going to have compassion for another human being, children, women, all that. But want really too many more people more compassionate than the children of Yasharal. Despite being persecuted in every place we've been, being slaves, every place that we've been, being tortured, being abused, being mistreated, every place we've been, we still turn around with open arms to every nation of people. We still are always forgiving. We still are always trying to do the right thing. Our laws still tell us, despite what anybody did to us in the past, we have to live a certain standard. Where's the compassion for our people? Not just black people, Israel. Where's the compassion for all our babies that got thrown off walls? And I'm talking about way before we even got to this country for the Euro-Gentile to do it. For the Edomite. For the Syrians. For the Philistines, for Babylon, for all these people that destroyed us and killed us all the way into this captivity now. We have some of the large numbers of our children, female children, missing in this country. When the last time you seen it on TV? One little white baby go missing, or one white teenager that goes to some far country to go party from college with some rich parents go missing, and it's national news everywhere. It's world news. But anything happens to our people, it's no concern. There's no voice. There's no talk about it. You go to even the countries where we're heavily populated. The violence and the things that go on there, the suffering, the starvation, the sickness, nobody cares. But then the people that are in power, anybody that looks like them, not even from their country, but looks like them, something happens, the whole world has to be sorry. And I'm not saying don't be sorry. All I'm saying is care about our people too. Especially if you are our people, care about your own people. But then we are taught that if we try to be concerned with our own people and our own culture, then we're racist or we're black supremacists. But if we don't care, who gonna care? The little white lady on TV talking about with just the amount of your coffee that you spend, you can feed 12 little starving African babies. But yet the CEOs of them companies is making 6 figures and plus to not even really work, but just having their name on the company. So a lot of this sounds very rough, and it sounds like maybe that we are insensitive, and it's not insensitivity, because I would never take joy or downplay any innocent life being killed. But I'm not going to put their lives over our people's lives. And that's just, you'd be an idiot to do that with your culture as well.
Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 81 and verse 1. Sing aloud unto Elohim our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Yaakov. Take a psalm and bring here the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new month, Kodesh. in the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
All right, so you heard the ox said new month, because right here they use the word Chodesh, which means new month. It does not mean new moon, because you cannot get 12 moons or even 13 moons to equal one full year of 364 days. Or just say you confused and you want to use 365 days, or you want to make every year a leap year, 366 days. Your moon will still never give you the beginning of a month consistently every month. It will never happen. So this is why we know for a fact this is a mistranslation. It's new month. Go ahead. Because we just read that. On the new months, this is say blow up the shofars. We just read that in Numbers chapter 10. It didn't say when you see a new moon phase or you see a new moon cycle. It doesn't say that. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For this was a statute for Yasharal and a law for the Elohim of Yaakov. This he ordained in Yosef for a testimony when he went out through the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. You called in trouble, and I delivered you. I answered you in the secret place of thunder. I proved you at the waters of Meribah, Selah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto you, O Yasharal, if you will hearken unto me. There shall no strange awe be in you, neither shall you worship any strange awe. God.
All right. So when he's talking about, hear, O my people, and I will testify to you, O Yasharal, if you will hearken unto me. Part of the whole test of this whole lifestyle is, are you going to listen to the Most High? Or are you going to decide when you think it's important enough to listen to? And that's what we like to do. We like to decide, do I really, like a parent does their child. They hear their child crying. And you know your child's cries. Do I need to listen to that? Nah, that's spoiled cry. Nah. He just want this. So he just sleepy. He's going back to bed. But we do the law like that. We listen and say, this is important enough to listen to. But at the end of the day, he asks us to do things. Sometimes it seems trivial just to see, are you going to listen? Because if he stamps, okay, you are somebody that's going to follow instructions. Once he puts that seal on you and lets you enter in the kingdom, there's no going out. There's no more leaving. You are there forever now. So if you're going to play for a game that's going to be a prize that's going to be forever, then he wants to make sure you're the right type of citizen that can come into the kingdom and not cause evil to somebody else or cause somebody else to be mourning because you refuse to live in righteousness.
Verse 10. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. Open your mouth wide and I will fill it. But my people would not hearken unto my voice, and Yasharal would have none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Yasharal had walked in my ways.
And this is the results of us walking in our own counsel. We are the dead bottom of all the nations. We are the bottom. And this is because we refuse to listen. We think we're going to listen to our own counsel, or we're going to allow them same nations he told us to go in there and kill off. We're going to listen to them and let them counsel us, because we looking at who looks successful. This guy looked like he's successful. This preacher looked like he got a nice car and a big house, so he must be saying something right. That's when you worship God, G-A-W-D, the deity of fortune. Then your measure of blessings is some kind of financial value. But if your measure of blessings is who's listening to the instructions of the Most High, and you have faith and you trust that you're going to receive the reward in the latter and in your normal life, then you're going to listen, you're going to hearken. And trumpets is all about listening, hearing. You can't have trumpets without hearing the horn. This is why we blow the horn. We're trained to listen, and when we hear something, react a certain way. And if something sounds different, we have to react a different way. That's training. That's training to train you to listen to the voice of the Most High, to listen to the sound, the signal of the Most High. And that's the basic carnal level. And that is to train you up and build you up so you can get into a higher level where now the Most High can listen to you. And how he's going to listen to you is after trumpets, now you go into atonement. And now you're trying to speak to the Most High. And you're trying to have him listen to you. But why should he listen to you if you didn't listen to him? He told you, I need you to do these things. And furthermore, when you're going to him for atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th month, which is 10 days after trumpets, then you are going to him, telling him about all the times you didn't listen to him. That's what you do in all atonement. Listen, I didn't listen to you. You told me to do this, I didn't. You told me I should be this way, I wasn't. You told me I should be here, I wasn't. Please forgive me. But no, you're going to hear the Most High first before he hear you. Because he's the master. He's the Elohim. Go ahead.
Verse 14. I should soon have subdued their enemies and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of Yahweh should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied you.
All right. And the sad part about it is we are the ambassadors of the Most High. We are him in the flesh down here on this earth. But yet when he calls the haters of Yahweh, he talking about us. How are you? That's like, this is my son. This is my wife. This is my daughter. And here are the haters. Well, isn't that your family? Nah, that's the haters. These are my haters. How is your family going to be your haters? Because we the ones that despise him. We despise him when we take his instruction where he says, hearken, O Yasharal. And we say, I don't have to listen to that. The heathens ain't, so I ain't got to listen to it. I'm good. Then we become despisers of his word, despisers of him. That's how you become a hater of Yahweh. Let's move on. Let's go to Leviticus, chapter 23, and we're going to get into this law for trumpets. Leviticus chapter 23, and we're going to start this at verse 23. And we're going to look at these holy days that fall in the 7th month, and we're going to see why it's the holiest day of the year. Holiest month of the year. It's the holiest month of the year, and in that month you have the holiest day of year, which is Kippur. And it's the holiest day of the year because it's the day that you getting forgiveness of all your sins. So that'll be the holiest you'll ever be in the entire year. Unless you were born in that year, or unless you were immersed in that year, this is going to be the holiest day of your year.
Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 23. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Also in the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right, so we're going over those first two holy days. So the first one is Teruah. So if you go to Leviticus 23 and verse 23 or 24, says, speaking to the 7th month and the 1st day of the month, you shall have and where it says Sabbath, the actual word for there, where it says Sabbath in English, the actual word is Sabbathon. Sabbathon. There's a difference. The Sabbath is set apart. It's always the 7th day of the week. So you're not going to have ever him apply to have a holy day fall on the Sabbath, because the Sabbath is set apart. This is a Sabbathon. So the Hebrew word for Sabbathon, H7677, Shabbathon, Shabbathon. This is the closest thing to a holiday that you'll find, because this is a day that is like a special day that falls on any other day of the week other than the Sabbath, but it's treated as a rest day. You're to take the day off like a holiday. Holidays, you take the day off. And this is a memorial, which is Zikron. So memorial is a memento, a memorable thing or day, a record. And then it says blowing of the trumpets, which is Teruah. Teruah, which is H8643. Teruah. Teruah. And that's from H7321, a clamor. That is an acclamation of joy or a battle cry, especially clangor of trumpets as an alarm. Alarm blowing of the trumpets, joy, jubilee, loud noise, rejoicing, shouting, high joyful sounding. So this is a day of joy, but it's also that same loud noise could be in a battle cry, could be in the jubilee. So this teruah happens on the new month of the 7th month. So you're having, this is what you call a high Sabbath, a Sabbathon, because it's not a Sabbath day, yet it's treated like a Sabbath day because you're not permitted to work. It's a rest day. And it is a new month, which you're supposed to gather. And it's a Moadim. So it's all those things on one day. This is the only new month, which is treated as a Sabbath. The only new month. No other new month will be treated as a Sabbath. Even New Year, Rosh Hashanah, is not treated as a Sabbath. But it says observe the month of Abib. So this is a special day. This is a special Sabbathon. This is the entering, the calling of the people. We are calling you all to come to the front of the door. Be prepared for your next instructions. And we saw what the next instructions is. When you go into the 10th day, it is atonement. Atonement. All right, go ahead. Finish that up.
Verse 28. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim.
And as we get into atonement, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But notice it says you shall afflict your souls. So, you know, in English, we see souls. We think, you know, like James Brown, he got soul. That brother got soul. You know, you can take my body, but you'll never have my soul. And the devil wants your soul. That's your breathing body. That's your nefesh. So how do you afflict your breathing body?
You deny the food.
Exactly. There's only a few lawful ways to deny your breathing fleshly body. Denying it of food will literally make your breathing body be afflicted. Also, think about it. When you have somebody that dies in your family, or you lost a big game, or you broke up in a bad relationship, you're hurt real bad, that initial point when you are in deep, deep emotional pain, what do you naturally do? Think about it. You naturally fast. You are naturally I don't want to eat. You're afflicting. You're afflicting yourself. Your body is naturally afflicting yourself. And you feel that. I know in college, I had the first girl ever that I caught cheat on me in college. And I was so sick. I had so much pride. I didn't want to cry. So I just held it in and just was so hurt. My pain. And I thought I loved the girl so much. And I was so hurt that I got physically sick. That I threw up and had a bad stomach pain. It was horrible. I felt like I had a physical disease. You couldn't give me none. You can't give me no medicine for that. My soul was physically afflicted because of the emotion that I was going through. So there's two ways that you physically do that. And that's what you do on atonement. You deny the flesh by not eating, which will naturally afflict your soul. And sum, to fast is to sum, which is to cover up your mouth. It means you're not drinking anything, you're not eating anything. When you don't drink and don't eat, you're afflicting the soul. And when you are not drinking, you really afflicting the soul, because you can go a long time without.
And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, that same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest. And you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall you celebrate your Shabbat.
All right. So when it says it shall be unto you a Shabbat of Shabbathon, it's also letting you know that this is going to be a Sabbathon as well. It's using that same word. It says Sabbath and then it says Sabbathon. So it's letting you know this is not on a Sabbath day. It is unlawful for you to fast, a real fast, which is no food and no water on the Sabbath day. It is unlawful to do that. So here, that lets you know it can't fall on a physical Sabbath day, the seventh day of the week, because then that will be in conflict. Go ahead.
Verse 33. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of Yahweh which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon this day.
All right, so it says, on the 15th day of the 7th month shall be a feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day you shall be a holy convocation. You should do no servile work therein. And then on the 7th day, so you have all these holy days. You got trumpets, which is Sabbathon. You got atonement, Sabbathon. Then you got day 1 of tabernacles, Sabbathon. Then you have day 7 of, day 8, Sabbathon. So that's 4 holy days in 1 month. That is the most. There's only 7 of them. And there's 4 in 1 month, with all 4 of these having Sabbathons in them. So it's a holy day. So now you look at what's going on here. You have trumpets, which is the calling of the assembly. Also the warning of something great that's about to happen. Also the clamor, the loud, the yelling, the joy that you scream out for the Most High. Then now after that, after you're gathered, then now you're going into atonement. And you are now atoning for your sins. You're gathered to the house, to the front. Remember, to gather the trumpet below, you go to the front of the congregation. So you come to the front, you are gathered. Then you are cleansed for atonement. You are cleansed of your sins for the year. And then on the 15th day, you're invited into the house and you celebrate for 7 days. And then on the 8th day, it's like a new creation. You have a whole new thing being created, because we know 7 is the number of completion. So the 8th day is representing, this is a brand new thing. Something else is coming after the normal 7 days, because you see unleavened bread is 7 days. Why is this 8 days? Because it's representing something new, a new thing in the earth that has never happened. A day that is not part of the week, that stands alone on its own, that will be like that forever. That is like the final day where it's like that, where we are at peace. There's no more death. There's no more dying. It's a new thing in the earth. There's no more sun. There's no more moon. There's no more daytime. No more nighttime. It's an in-between time. It's like a light without the sun. And it's like that all the time. And that's what that 8th day represents. That's what we're trying to make it to. We're trying to make it to that 8th day. We're trying to make it to the 7th day, which is a sabbatical kingdom, which is 1,000 years of peace. We're trying to make it there. At least if we make it there, we know ain't nobody going to keep us out the kingdom other than ourselves at that point. Because the adversary gone, he locked away for 1,000 years. So all we got to do is make sure we keep ourselves in check. All right, finish that up.
Verse 38, besides the Shabbats of Yahweh, and besides your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings which you give unto Yahweh, also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be a Shabbat. And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days.
All right, so these palms, I'm assuming that's where they got the Palm Sunday from or something like that, because this is the mentioning of the palms. Where did they get that tradition from?
You mean the tradition of
With the palms, how they make the cross out of the palms or something like that?
No. Remember in the New Testament when Jesus came into Israel. Right?
On the donkey.
Right, riding on a donkey. The people greeted him waving the palm branches. But, I just assumed that palms were, well, easily obtained there, and it was a way to show their celebration.
Right.
I mean, they just wave the palms. So I don't know that this tradition of using palms came from all the way back here.
Okay, because here we use the palm trees and the bowls, and we decorate the booths.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead, brother.
Verse 41, and you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Yasharal to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Yasharal the feasts of Yahweh.
All right, so these are the feast days, and these are the last feast days of the year that all happen in the 7th month. So beginning next Tuesday night, exactly a week from now, we will have our Teruah. We will have our Yom Teruah. We'll have our blowing of trumpets, and we will have our feast day, and that will be a Sabbathon. So that means that Tuesday night begins the feast. That Wednesday, we will not be permitted to work from Tuesday night all the way into Wednesday until the following going down of the sun. So let's move on. Let's go to Hosea chapter 8. Hosea chapter 8, or Hosea chapter 8. And Hosea is after Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, and Daniel. It's right after Daniel. And, you know, people will say that our faith is so restrictive. Man, the 7th month is one long party. Except for atonement, every holy day we're commanded to party and have fun and rejoice and not work. Atonement is the only one. That's a special matter where he said, listen, I want y'all to really get it together. Figure out what you need to get fixed. Every other day, you can't even be sad. You're not even supposed to cry. He's commanded. That's how our Elohim is. He said, man, you should be enjoying the fact that you're the children of Yasharal. Enjoy this. So, you know, on their holidays, when they have their holidays, you know, they go out there and they make all the noise in the world. They got lights bright, lighting up the whole neighborhood. You can't even go to sleep at night. But guess what? When our days come around, we doing the same thing. We blowing that shofar loud as ever. We bring the real trumpets out there, blow it loud as ever. We have fun. We play the music. We blast. And if they come here, this is why. You come in, officer, you want to read the scripture? We keeping the holy days. You come into these people's house on Christmas and New Year, 4th of July and all that? You come into their house and bothering them? Nah, so we're going to do ours.
Hosea chapter 8 and verse 1. Set the trumpet to your mouth. He shall come as an eagle against the house of Yahweh, because they have transgressed my covenant and trespassed my law. Yasharal shall cry unto me, my Elohim, we know you. Yasharal has cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold they have made them idols, that they may be cut off. Your calf, O Samaria, has cast you off. My anger is kindled against them. How long will it be they attain to innocency? For from Yasharal was it also. The workman made it. Therefore it is not Elohim, but the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. It has no star. On up to Assyria, a wild donkey alone by himself. Ephraim has hired lovers. Yea, they have hired among them the nations. Now will I gather them, and they shall sorrow a little for the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim has made many altars to sin. Altars shall be unto him to sin. I have written to him the great things of my law, but they were counted as a strange thing. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of my offerings, and eat it, but Yahweh accepts them not. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt, Mitzrayim. For Yasharal has forgotten his maker, and builds temples, and Yehuda has multiplied fenced cities, but I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 1, and we're going to see these trumpets of judgment. Zephaniah. It's another few chapters down. Zephaniah chapter 1. Trumpets is going to be blowing for a lot of reasons. There's a whole lot of reasons. We're going to start getting into some of these prophecies of when these trumpets start blowing, what's going on. And when these trumpets blow, it's going to be to the saving and joy of some that are going to be screaming with, going to be teruah, clamoring loud with joy. Thank goodness it's time. And for others, it's going to be fear and running and crying and judgment for all those things that we just read about, all that idol worship, us casting aside the good thing, which is Yah's word that he gave us, his instruction, and casting it aside to benefit for the people. Now, it's hard for me to believe that after being exposed to the Most High that we just, really believe that this was an idol, that this was our God and this, that, and the other. But for us to take a hold of that is if we do unrighteousness and we see Yahweh not rewarding us the way we want to be rewarded, or we see other people doing wickedness and getting away with it, then what we'll do is we'll try to do what they do. The stuff that they do. They have these big houses and making good money and doing all this stuff, and they have a party and they doing all this wild stuff. Then we join into it. And that's what we do. It's easy. All you got to do is look at these stupid challenges they have. What was the water bucket challenge where they put in ice cold water for some stupid disease that like maybe 2 black people in the whole world has ever caught? And then where we are pouring buckets of water because everybody else doing it. Because celebrities doing it. People that look famous doing it. We doing that foolishness. Now, you ain't going to the shelters or going to the hospital to try to help sick people with this stuff and try to help the families of the sick people, but because it's the trend, everybody doing it, we do it. Or if we see a certain group of people believe in a certain God and we want to get cool with them, then we're going to go over there and worship their God so we can be in that network, so we can get those contracts, so that our donkey could be doing their field and we can get money. So we'll do whatever it is for the money. And that's a status symbol. You come in, you got a big idol hanging up in your house. That's status. So we did that and thought it was going to be okay, that we would get away with it. And because we didn't get punished swiftly, we figured it was okay to the point where this is being passed generation to generation to generation. The one we just read about was the calf, the golden calf. We just got freed from Egypt by a strong and mighty hand, walked through water, literally walked through a sea. Moshe and Aaron go up the mountain. Before they come down the mountain, they already got a golden calf. Built the same idol that they left in Egypt, talking about these be your gods that free. Here's Yahweh your God that freed you from Egypt. That just shows you the idolistic mind that we have, that we're going to revert to whatever is popular, whatever we're used to. And that's why it's so important for this generation right here that learn the error of our parents' ways. And it's not our parents' fault. Because it's not like our parents just made up, the idols and said, here, I just made up this idol. I'm going to pass it to my son. This has been passed from generation to generation to generation to generation. Our parents passed us the best that they had. But now, because they gave us the best that they had, it pushed us a little bit further than they were. So now the responsibility is on us with all this stuff that our parents didn't have. Google and internet and books and libraries that you can literally walk across the street to. And learn better and do better so that our generations can now, by tradition, do our culture. And then now all we got to do is manage behavior. We don't have to worry about idol practices that were passed on. All we got to do is manage behavior like any other child. Zephaniah chapter 1. And let's start this at verse 1.
The word of Yahweh which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushi, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Uzziah, the son of Ammon, king of Yehuda. I will utterly consume all things from off the land, says Yahweh. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wicked and I will cut off man from off the land, says Yahweh.
So Yahweh not a respecter of persons. He came in the same land and he killed off the people in that land because of wickedness, right? He didn't kill them all off, but he killed them off the land until they had to get forced out the land. Then we came in the land, got all the righteous instruction, the instruction that the Gentiles didn't receive, all the righteous instructions. And then when we turn around and did the same thing that they did, Yahweh turned around and did the same thing to us. So imagine how that hurt him to kill our babies and to kill our men and our women. And you see, they killing animals too. He said he killing animals. So that had to hurt him to have to do all this. But he's not a respecter of persons. But he gave us a worse judgment because we received all the instructions. They didn't. They had evil angels leading them. They didn't have a choice. The evil angels led them. We had a choice. We had a choice of whether or not we wanted to go after another angel and follow another angel that was strange unto the angel that we had, to the angels that were our messengers. And furthermore, we didn't have an angel over us. We were made sovereign. So you can see how the punishment came our way.
Verse 4. I will also stretch out my hand upon Yehuda and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Shemarims with the priests, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by Yahweh, and that swear by Malcham, and them that are turned back from Yahweh, and those that have not sought Yahweh, nor inquired for him. Hold your peace at the presence of my sovereign Yahweh, for the day of Yahweh is at hand. For Yahweh has prepared a sacrifice, and has bid his guests. And it shall come to pass in that day of Yahweh's sacrifice, that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel.
All right, verse 8, it shall come to pass in that day, the day of the sacrifice, I will punish the leaders and the children of the leaders, and all such as clothed with strange apparel. So what do we think that strange apparel is? Anybody? Any new person? What do you think that strange apparel is? We know apparel is what you're wearing. So on a base level, what would that mean? Strange apparel.
Clothing.
Clothing. What would make it strange?
It's foreign. It's of the nations, of the Gentiles.
Right. So it would be foreign type clothing. So is there a law against wearing foreign clothing? No. So why would he punish you for wearing clothing of another nation?
Is it referring to like doctrine or foreign doctrine?
There you go. There you go. You're getting close. Yonatan, you want to elaborate on that for them a little bit?
Well, I know that there's laws about how we're supposed to be apparelled. Mm-hmm. You know how it says we're supposed to have fringes in the borders of our garments,
Mm-hmm.
on the four corners of our garments, seats, and gadilim, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you know, we're clothed with the ruach, but some people won't be clothed with the holy, the kodesh ruach. Some people will be clothed with the spirit of Baal, wickedness.
Right. Remember the parable. Go on the street, just grab anybody. This will be the other nations. Go grab the other nations. Grab them. Tell them to come on. So they come. You come to show up to that wedding. Nobody here carnally gonna go show up to that wedding in some basketball shorts and a wife beater. We have enough sense to dress up nice. You know, maybe not as nice as the groom, but at least to wear something presentable. We wouldn't disrespect a wedding family like that, a wedding party. But yet we want to show up to the Most High in that strange apparel. And that strange apparel is like, where's this man that showed up here with no wedding garment on? Did you not know you was coming to a wedding? Cast that man in outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. He showed up without the spirit. He showed up to a spiritual function being carnal, offending everybody. So that strange apparel is all those people that are clothed with that strange spirit, not wearing the proper apparel. Yeah, the commandment says keep your fringes and your gadals and all that, and that's a commandment. So by not keeping that commandment, you are wearing strange apparel. So it's not just about your clothing, by people that are not keeping commandments and listening to other doctrines that are telling you, yeah, you can do this, yeah, you can do that. Y'all said, nope, don't do that. Y'all said, you will do that. Y'all said, you will not worship these other gods. But they chose to worship the other gods and Yahweh, because you saw some of them chose to worship Yah and something else. That's strange apparel, because it's the same thing with the 7 virgins. The 7 virgins that showed up, the wise virgins had that oil burning. That's the spirit. The oil represents the spirit. They showed up with the spirit. They made sure they had enough. The other ones didn't take the time and think it was, the wedding. We don't know. He's going to show up whenever. So I ain't going to work on my wedding garment. I ain't going to work on getting my oil. And now when it's time, the bride is like, the groom is like, okay, where are my wives? Bring my wives. You don't have nothing. You don't have no garment. You're not dressed for a wedding. You don't have no oil. So this is the strange apparel they're talking about. People will take this and try to make it carnal. Well, because you got a t-shirt on. You don't got some dashiki on. So they was wearing dashikis back then? You telling me you can go buy exactly what they was wearing back then right now? Nah, that's foolishness. You had no kufi on? Show me kufi in the Bible. But that's the carnal teaching that we're taught is deeper than that. Show me your covering. Where's your covering? This word is your covering. This love is your covering. And in doing that, you're going to naturally cover your head, because you're going to dress the way the priests were supposed to dress. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. In that same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh, says Yahweh, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills.
All right, so I will punish all those that leap on the threshold, fill their master's house with violence and deceit, killing all these animals, but it's deceitful because you're not truly sorry. You don't have no repentance in your heart. You have no desire to change. So it's nothing but violence and deceit when you kill these animals, when you say that you're sorry, the way you treat your brothers and sisters. You killing them by pushing strange doctrine on them, or causing a peaceful man to be inflamed because of the way that you're violating him. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Howl, you inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, Yahweh will not do good, neither will he do evil. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof.
And it says you will inherit houses that you didn't build. You will inherit vineyards that you didn't build. So it's two sides of the story. You got one person that built their stuff on violence and deceit. They just building it up for you to go in there, and this, when you take it, it's forever. After you rip down all their idols and all their stuff. See, that's what we do. We're taught in this country we need to be accepting of these, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I got to accept what you do in your house, because that's your house. But anything involving me or anything I go into, if it's got idols all over the place, I don't need to be dealing with that of a place of worship. And if it's in my house, there definitely don't need to be none of those idols all over the place. An idol doesn't have to be necessarily an actual carved image. An idol could be you, because you decide that you the master, you the Elohim, you make up the rules that override Yah's rules. Then you the idol in the house.
Verse 14. The great day of Yahweh is near. It is near and hastens greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahweh, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers.
All right, so it's a day of trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities, all those places that thought that they were safe because they were covered and they had high towers looking over. Just like went to that concert, they have all those high towers looking over, seeing trouble from a mile away, and it ain't gonna do nothing for you. And it's one of those weird moments because it's gonna be a lot of crying and pain and suffering and sadness, and the children of Yasharal want to be happy because we're returning home. But how could any good person, again, like what we talked about earlier, when you've seen all these people dying, women, children, animals, all these different things where this place is being destroyed. And don't get it twisted. It ain't finna be we over here looking at all these white people being destroyed. You're gonna see your own friends, your own family, own people that sat amongst you in assembly being destroyed. Because the number is 2/3 being cut from the kingdom and not make it. That's a sharp number. If you take 2/3 in here, who in here think they could be more righteous than 2/3 of the people in here? A righteous person ain't gonna be able to answer that question. That's a tough question. So it's a sad, this is why we don't, I can't wait until the day of Yahweh. I can't wait. Well, you not having mercy. Because if you can't wait for all this bad stuff to happen, you can't wait for your own destruction because you had no mercy on your people. Because when that day comes, ain't no repentance. So that means you should be wanting that day to be further out so your brothers and sisters can learn to repent, so the nations can learn to fall in line. But we don't think like that. We think that we're going to be the 1/3 in the 1/3 club that's going to walk in there because we kept the Sabbath day and stopped stealing. It don't work that way.
Verse 17, and I will bring distress upon men that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of Yahweh's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land.
All right, so their silver, their gold, none of that's going to deliver you in the day of Yah's wrath. But we steady feel that we're going to keep making enough money that's going to get us what we need, deliver what we need. It ain't going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. So we need to be thinking, then what do we need to be saving up? We need to be saving up that spirit. We need to be working on getting that garment spotless. Because you walk in, nobody gonna let you walk in a wedding. You dressed in a suit and there's mud all over you, tracking dog doo-doo everywhere you step. They'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? No, go clean off. Go clean off. Now is the time to clean off, because that's what our wedding garment, we're filthy rags. That's what we look like. Now is the time to clean off. We have been warned. You cannot come into this wedding unless you clean that wedding garment off. Israel, you received the wedding garment. So you specifically better have it. Everybody else got to go seek it and dress appropriately. But Israel, Yasharal, you received it. So you should have it. That means you're in the process of now wiping this thing off. And it was clean when you took that immersion, but we all spotted it up. So we're in constant de-spotting of that garment. And we like to take for granted that it's going to happen 10 years from now. It's going to happen in 2019, because in 1619, we want to take everything else in account. But the reality is that the Mashiach himself, Yahshua, don't know when he's coming back. So we need to act like it's going to happen tomorrow. So when he show up, oh, you're here. Okay, well, get that in the back, because I can't reach that. You better be in that process of cleaning. Let's go to Revelation chapter 8. So again, the blowing of the trumpets is like a mixed emotion. It's a lot of joy, but it's a lot of sadness. And right now it's joy. It's joy for us because we just practicing. We practicing being happy on that day because we hope that that'll be a happy day for us. But one of these days, these blowing of the shofars is not going to be a practice. This is going to be literally the difference between you getting help or not. The difference between you gathering when you're supposed to gather or not. The difference between you getting up and fleeing and not going to the housetop, not grabbing some more stuff, not doing this, but getting up and go and waiting for your next instruction. And, you know, people use those fear tactics like it's going to happen, you know, it's going to happen in this year. And a lot of people like to make up dates. They make up dates and they can force people to have more urgency. But the reality is, if you don't got that urgency in you now, you ain't fooling y'all. If y'all felt like the only reason you was prepared is because you thought he was going to come on that specific day, what happens when he don't come? You going to keep preparing? Nah, human nature going to be like, oh, I'm good. He ain't coming.
Revelation chapter 8 and verse 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of a half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before Elohim, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came up with the prayers of the saints ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand.
Again, this is why we light the incense. We're supposed to, because the incense carries the prayers of the saints. Go ahead.
Verse 5, and the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and there were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the grass was burnt up.
And how will we know that? Look at what's going on right now. The whole West Coast on fire. The whole world is on fire. The ring of fire with the earthquakes, all this fire everywhere. So how are you going to know exactly 1/3 of the trees being burnt up? We killed most of them. We cutting them down. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood.
Look what's happening over there in Florida. They're getting this red tide worse than any other time. And these are just like shadows of things to come. Imagine all these things where Florida had to do state of emergency because of this. Imagine what it's going to look like when it's really mingled with blood. And you can see imagine what it looked like with the red tide thing and all these animals dying. So imagine when it's really setting in place and the sea is really full of dead stuff. Then you have that stench. You can't drink the water. You can't get in the water. A lot of people's jobs that are depending on the water and now can't feed their families. It's going to be a horrible time. And you see how we act for Black Friday so we can get a TV $5 cheaper than 2 weeks earlier. We fight, a woman who just left church will fight a kid. So imagine when the food supply cuts off. Imagine if it doesn't even have to be cut off. If we think the food is cut off, if the price goes up $1, we fighting. Go ahead.
Verse 9, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the mountains of the waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died because of the waters, because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. And the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet, and of the 3 angels which are yet to sound.
All right, let's go on. Let's go to chapter 9.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
All right, so this bottomless pit, which we don't know where it's at, but it's talking about the smoke of the pit, like a great furnace, so much smoke that it darkens the sun and the air just because of the smoke. So if it's darkening the sun, you're not getting any sunlight. And if it's that much smoke, that means it's hard to breathe. It's pretty bad. And when you think about it, you know, this bottomless pit, it don't have to be a big hole. A bottomless pit could be what's under a volcano. We don't know what's under there. You know, there could be anything. One of these super volcanoes, these calderas could blow up and it could release, you know, once that goes up, what's in there? What's under there? We think it's all lava or whatever. We don't know what's under there. All kind of animals, ancient animals will be coming out. Ancient prehistoric bugs and all that stuff could come out of there.
Just last night, me and my Isha was watching a documentary about cicadas have a life cycle where they stay underground 13 years.
Wow.
And they only come up after 13 years and mate. And there's different cycles, like the ones up north come out, have a 13-year cycle. And the ones down south have like a 9-year cycle. And their gene pools only coincide like some weird algorithm number. It was crazy. I was like, and they don't do nothing. They don't have any defenses. They just like harmless. But there's a lot of mathematical, like, cicadas. They're the ones that make
bugs.
Noise. And they sit up on the tree and molt and leave their skin behind.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, you never know what's dwelling under there.
We don't even know what's in the earth. We don't even know what's under the waters underneath. We have no idea.
Verse 4, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim in their foreheads.
Okay, notice, have the seal of Elohim in their foreheads. But carnal people think that they're going to put a seal on their foreheads. So what could be a seal in your forehead? Your mind and your spirit. So remember the face of Yahweh. The Hebrew word for face is panim. Pania. And that's that pineal gland. That's your spiritual antenna. So if you don't have that connection with the Most High, this is being calcified by the crap that we eat, by our actions, by the things that we do. Would just cause it to just calcify up. You know, that's how some of these other people in these other nations that are separate from all this stuff can be in the middle of a forest and be blindfolded and find their way in the dark because they are connected with the Most High. They got their spiritual antenna. So when you have that seal in your forehead, it don't matter what you see or what's going on. Ain't nothing finna keep you off this narrow path. Ain't nothing gonna stop you from doing the instructions of the Most High. That's a seal that only somebody that can see inside your mind, inside your heart could see. You're not going to be able to look at somebody and see that because you got the little frontlet on the front of your head like the Jewish people do, trying to make themselves appear holy. Go ahead.
Verse 5, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
Now, just imagining, again, you're describing stuff that they may have not had in those times. So imagine, that helicopter, that got all that metal on it. and it's got that clear stuff, and they got the tail that shoots fire, you know, the missiles and all that stuff that shoot off there, and then another wheel going, and they look in there and they see this big thing flying with these weapons firing all this stuff at people from ancient biblical times. They're seeing this in a revelation, a vision. And then you look up and you look through the mirror and they see a man with that big mask over his face. You know, when you wear helicopters and you got all those cables going down, they're looking like hair, like a hair of a woman. This could be them seeing the like war, us going to war and the world going through war and blowing up stuff, and they're trying to fight each other and do this, but they think they doing something new, but they just following the prophecy of Yah, creating the scenario that's right here. Because this sounds nuclear here with the kind of stuff that's going on. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months.
So that sounds like some kind of chemical or radioactive type thing where you die slowly. You're poisoned. You wish you could die, but you just slowly wasting away from radiation or smoke or chemical or whatever. Go ahead.
Verse 11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before Elohim, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them.
So 200,000 would be what? 20 million? So 200,000, then it'd be 2 million, 20 million, 200 million people. 200 million. Wow.
Verse 17, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of hyacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
And when you're talking about heads, with you know, those helicopters and planes and all this stuff, they draw stuff like that on them. They physically draw pictures of lions and teeth on the front of the plane. They do all this type of stuff. This could be very well something in our time. Go ahead.
By these 3 was the 3rd part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issue out of their mouths.
Now, I seen that video that you were talking about with the brimstone.
Oh, the one that, what's his name posted?
Sulfur? Yeah.
Brandon.
Woo!
It burned hot, man.
You talking about a rock that you light on fire and it melts and just continuously burns till it burns through the ground. Like, this is what they got on them? You can't even touch him. If he on fire, and then he on fire.
And imagine that brimstone is raining from the sky. How hot that sulfur burned. It hit your head. It's gonna sink
all the way
right through you. Yeah, you gonna come through you like butter.
And you don't have to worry about it being on fire, because it's flammable and then it's coming through the atmosphere and has to burn to get through the atmosphere.
Even in this liquid form, it's still hot, hot, hot.
It's gonna be like rain. Think about it. If it's burning, it's liquid.
Yeah,
By the time it hits you, it's like acid rain just
there you go.
burning through
Anything.
And then just say enough of it hits you where it hits you in the right places just to cause you to be in so much pain that you wish it would have went through your head and died.
You can't wipe it off because it's still burning so
You,
hot.
you wiping it off and you wiping bone on your face and your hand is burning. That ain't something you want to think about. And that ain't something you're going to be able to protect yourself from. Ain't nothing you can buy in this world going to protect you from that. You can't run from the judgment of the Most High.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is try to get right with the Most High.
The only thing that'll save you is morality. keeping right with the laws of Yah. Verse 19, for their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor their thefts.
So this is the difference between a mature person and a childlike person when it comes to righteousness. A child, when you spank a child, the child does not consider what they've done. They're just, you hate, I hate you. I hate her. I hate her. I wish she would die. That's what a child does. They never considered, why is my parent spanking me? Till you make them go stand in the corner, think about what you did. Eventually, a good child is going to be like, Mommy, I'm sorry, Daddy. You know, I didn't listen. I disobeyed. And, you know, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. You know, I'm sorry. There's a little bit of maturity there. That parent don't want to just beat their child for no reason. But this is how these people are. They're being tortured and they're being put through all this pain, and never do they consider, why is this going on? Instead, they blame the Most High, because surely he's unrighteous for not allowing them to do their murders and their thefts and their fornications and all their sorceries. They don't consider that evil because everybody else is doing it. Sorcery, deception, all this worship of all these multiple, you got some religions, you can't even pick that religion and everything associated with that religion, because the religion has every different religion tied into it. So you can't even be right and say, okay, I picked the wrong one. I picked Hinduism. At least that deals with just one thing. You got other religions, they got Hinduism, it got Islam, it got Judaism, it got Mithraism, it got all this stuff in one. And because everybody is doing it, they say that's fine. At what point is man going to say, you know what? The Most High is righteous. I'm wicked. If he's doing this, there's a reason. Instead, they're going to call Yahweh the devil. And they're going to call whatever God that allowed them to do whatever they want the good God. And they're going to be waiting on that so-called good God to save them. Oh, idol microphone God, please save us. And I hate Yahweh Elohim. And just burn rather than repent. And this is nothing new. And I can't say this is something the nations do. This is what Israel did. We did that. And we were educated. So what you think the average person going to do? All right, let's go to the conclusion. Let's finish chapter 10. Let's get to the seventh angel.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot upon the earth. And he cried with a loud voice as when a lion roars. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that lives forever and ever, who created heaven and all things that are therein, and the earth and all things that are therein, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Elohim should be finished, as he has declared to his servants, the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spoke unto me again and said, go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which stands upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up. and it shall make your belly bitter, but it shall be in your mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings.
And that's how that word is. You know, when you first get into it and everything is joy and anon, like the seeds, you know, the good seeds. It tastes sweet. Everything is great. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy I found it. Till you ingest that word and you really start living it. And then now you have to see that bitterness that comes along with trying to walk righteous in a world that's corrupted by the adversary, the devil. But you got to fight through it because this is the instructions of the Most High. So these are just a introduction into the trumpets. It's Revelation is real deep. I don't really master in prophecy because there's a lot of different views with it. But what you can take away from this, that there's a very important thing coming our way, and it involves these trumpets. And if it was important enough for Yah to say, I'm going to set off all these things in the world with trumpets, then we might want to pay attention if he made a holy day that is all about trumpets. I don't see no menorah day. Didn't see that. Didn't see a menorah day. You know, so he made a day for trumpets. It's pretty serious. You know, he could have made a guitar day. Didn't. The harp day. He didn't. He decided to use the trumpet. So this moves angels, these trumpets. So when the angels are moving, we need to make sure that we are not in his way, because he will not pardon your iniquity. So that's all we're going to do today. Again, we have exactly 7 days. We will not be streaming Bible study. We will be streaming Teruah for the holy days. So before we end, any last questions or comments? Go ahead.
I'm aware, you know, a lot of times when people hear Revelations, it's scary. I mean, when I first was reading the Revelations, it was scary to me as well. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because there's so much I didn't know. And even now there's still so much I didn't know, but
so much.
Walking with Yah, you're like, look, this is your word. You're not necessarily here to terrify me into loving you.
Right.
That terror came from the fear that I might fall under these judgments. Not to mean that I'm not gonna fall under them now, but I made that covenant to walk with you. So if I fall under those judgments, so be it. And if I don't, Yah be praised. But the terror is, the more on the side of wickedness you're in, or the more you know that, man, I'm off track, the more you feel that fear of these judgments.
Right.
And hopefully we can turn that fear and translate it into obedience. Because, like, look, I don't want to get whooped. How about I do the things you said? And then don't let your only motivation for following Yah because, oh, I'm scared of hell. No, how about because I love him, because the creation is beautiful, you know, because he helps keep families together, because his desire is for families to be together, or just the simple things, because water tastes good, you know, like
right.
Little stuff, or fruit tastes good, like just knowing that the glory of Yah is beyond just judgment. Judgment is for the wicked, so purge the wicked from yourself so that you won't have to be in fear when these things begin, but you just prostrate and just pray that you're spared. That's like how Yahshua told us to do. Pray always that you're found worthy to be spared from these days of judgment.
Right. I know my mom used to tell me something when I was young, you know, about hell and the devil and this, that, and the other. And it wasn't really biblical, but it was a great understanding that I believe. She always taught me, like, you know, we don't study the devil. We don't, you know, all that burning flames of fire and all that. That shouldn't really be your motivation for not wanting to go to that place. She always said, that place, which is away from the Father, that's the punishment. You're away from the Father. You're away from the love of the Father. That is the ultimate darkness. He is here everywhere in us. Take that away. Excuse me. Take that away, and that's what you have left. That is the punishment. That's going to be a horrible place where there is no good. There is no Yahweh. That is pure darkness, a darkness we've never seen before. never experienced. That is a horrible place to be. And before you even get to that place, just all the punishment and everything that comes along the way, just put it in earthly terms. If you knew that you had to have your son walk from point A to point B, and on the left, right side and the right side, there was, one side was poisonous snakes that if you take one step off, it's going to bite you and you're going to die and be the worst pain of your life. You go on the right, there's nothing but no ground. You're just going to fall to the ground. You're 100% dead. But if you make it across, there's all these great things for you. It's beautiful. You'll be paradise forever. Who would neglect to tell your child what's on the left and the right side? Just so you want to be positive. He needs to know, bro, listen, don't focus on that. Focus on where you're going. But just know these are the consequences of the left and the right. But see, what'll happen is if you want to make money off somebody, you know that, okay, it's going to take you 20 years to get from point A to point B. So it ain't really concerned. The pitfalls is way down that way. You don't want them not to show up because you keep telling people these negative things. I don't want to hear it. I just want to hear how great it is when I get to the other side. Because I ain't really ready to walk all the way there yet, but I'm walking. So this is why they stay away from it, because people say, listen, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I want to feel comfortable about my salvation. I want to feel that Jesus came here and he died so I can do everything. So that's all I want to hear. Don't tell me about judgment. That's why they stay out the Old Testament. Let's just hear nice soothsaying things. And that's that thing that we read about earlier. The people that say Yahweh not going to do this and he not going to do that. He not going to do good. He not going to do bad. You just good. Everything's okay. That's what people pay to hear. When you talk to somebody about your problems, usually we want to tell somebody to tell us that we are all right, that everything is good. That's what our body naturally wants to hear. We have to frame our body to want to hear the truth. So that's all we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and close in a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. And all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Brother West, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer, please?
Father, Yah, Sovereign Elohim, Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Yeshak, and Yaakov. We pray to you, Father Yah. We thank you for this opportunity, Father Yah, to hear more of your word, Father Yah. We thank you for your mercy given to us, Father Yah, to allow us to clean up our garments, Father Yah, and to purge ourselves of wickedness, Father Yah, and to clean our hearts, Father Yah. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy mighty name, Father Yah, we pray. Thank you for everything. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
You know, I started in the good stuff, you know, but it's like you got to know that the trumpets got good and got bad. It's going to be good for some, bad for others, just like the law. The law for those who found favor and those who didn't, you know, the law was, you know, to their perish, or some wake up to everlasting life, other to eternal damnation. So it's the same thing. You choose what side you want to be on.
How's your week been, sis?
Just I thought that in the book of Revelation,